Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365 Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and where we are here on the live stream is Workbook Lesson 55. So we're going through the workbook for students, and as people join in here live today on this Saturday, I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. And I hope that you're having a relaxing weekend, if that's what you want to have. And if you're having a fast-paced weekend, then, well, I hope it's not stressful, fast-paced, but fast-paced fun, because that's what we're going for, isn't it? Fun. So wherever you're joining me from, whether it's the evening or the middle of the night, or you're catching the replay, right here in Arizona, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's a beautiful day. So this is so much fun for me because we have a really impactful set of spiritual principles that apply to every single living thing. Universal, completely universal. So whether you have been following this live stream every day for the last couple of months since we've had it, or whether you are just tuning in, whether you have the workbook for students of A Course in Miracles or not, or whether you've even heard of it or not, doesn't make any difference. This live stream will be all about universal spirituality, my experience, my take on that, and practice, practical exercises, practical ways of looking at esoteric concepts so that they're easy to digest. In fact, it's quite simple, yet as human beings, we complicate matters, don't we? Needlessly, endlessly complicating them. Do we not? All right, let's dive into lesson 55. So what we're looking at here are a series for the next few days of review exercises. So the workbook is very systematic in presenting an idea a day. And we looked at 50 of those on this live stream. And then lessons 51 through 60 are reviews. So for these next 10 days that we're right in the middle of here today, we're covering a series of 5 workbook lessons. And in lesson 55, the workbook gives a very concise and very timely summary, especially today. So I'm going to do something that I don't always do here on the live stream, because these commentaries are very short. I mean, they really are quite short and don't take long to go through. I'm going to read them verbatim. Lesson 55, it's a review for today. So lesson 21 is one of these today. I am determined to see things differently. Okay, well, the last lesson was I'm determined to see, and this one's I'm determined to see things differently. But what I see now are but signs of disease, right? Disaster and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am. I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me rather than those which show me as an illusion of myself. All right. There can be no doubt at all that what we see are signs of disease, right? Disaster, death, and conflict. We have people that are supposedly like-minded ripping each other apart over personal choices, aren't we? We're seeing a world chock full of fear. Now we're also seeing people really rise up, step up to the plate, so to speak, and choose love. We're seeing both, aren't we? This is exactly what experience is like in the world. Why do we see this? Well, we have a choice. Some of us are choosing love repeatedly. And that's the world that we're seeing. Some of us are choosing fear, and that's the world that we're seeing. This is not what God created for his beloved Son, okay? As the Son of God, we're the extension of God, one with. Love extends love. It extends only itself, only itself. Yet in the world, feeling cut off, appearing to be cut off, we see disaster, death, and pandemics. Do we not? We certainly do, especially right now. This is absolutely timely, so there's no mistaking the timing of lesson 55 for today, the 3rd of April, 2021. Yeah, the Holy Spirit's timing is always precisely what it's meant to be. So we don't understand who we are. We should all be asking the question, who am I? I mean, really, who am I? This is the one question out of many that the ego is most afraid for you to ask. It knows the answer that you are not it, the ego. In other words, you are not a separate you. So this does mean that I am not ultimately Tomas Garza. I'm communicating with all of you, but ultimately we are not what we think we are. So let's ask the question, who am I? I want to point you to a really wonderful teacher who's a friend of mine. He's also here on this network, and I'm going to give a shout out to him right now, and that is GP Walsh. If you have not caught some of his stream of Satsang with G every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, streams right here on Enlightened World Network, you'll want to catch some of GP's teachings. It speaks to this very question, who am I? And that inquiry is non-dual self-inquiry. Satsang, if you're not familiar with that, is a traditional student-teacher dialogue. And it streams, again, 3 Eastern every Sunday here on Enlightened World Network. I really recommend that you check that out. It's quite wonderful. Running around confused, suffering, scared, and afraid, we clearly don't know who we are. So let's ask that question. Who am I? Let's ask that today, right now. Lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. What I see is a form of vengeance. I could put a little more drama in there, but I think that you can imply that and add your own. The world I see is hardly the representation of loving thoughts. Right? It is a picture of attack on everything by everything. It is anything but a reflection of the love of God and the love of his Son. It is my own attack thoughts that give rise to this picture. My loving thoughts will save me from this perception of the world and give me the peace God intended me to have. All right. We've been talking about in all of these lessons the power of creation, the power of our own being. It's innate in us. We are capable of heaven and hell, aren't we? Those are the choices, love or fear. That one leads to heaven, the experience that we call heaven, which is not actually a place, and neither is hell actually a place. Hell is an experience of being cut off and separated, and you may not have been raised to think or believe that way. I certainly was not. I actually thought these were physical places that you would go to, but only when this physical body passes away. In other words, and only when you die, right? You'll go to either heaven or hell, and many of us were taught that. Did that resonate with you? Didn't resonate with me at all. I can tell you that much. And if it does resonate with you, fantastic. Right? The course asks only that you practice these ideas. It doesn't require belief. It doesn't require anything. It doesn't require that you attend a certain building every Sunday at 11 a.m. And then if you're a really good person, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. or something like that. And it doesn't make you better than your neighbor because you attend one building across the street from another building. Now, y'all know where I'm going with this. Yeah. God intended us to have peace. This is who we are. We have the power to make worlds. So our own thoughts of separation lead us to experience a world of separation. Can you imagine? And maybe you're experiencing this. If you have consistent thoughts of love, you will see things differently, vastly differently. Don't believe me? Try it. I love that. If you don't believe me, try it and see. Lesson 23. I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, we're not saying escape as in physically escape and go to another place. We're talking about being right here, wherever you are, and giving up attack thoughts. And you then move away from and ultimately escape the experience of attack and conflict and frustration and fear. Internally, it's where the journey takes place. All right, I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Herein lies salvation, and nowhere else. Okay, and nowhere else. Without attack thoughts, I could not see a world of attack. Follows, yes? As forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. And it is this I choose to see in place of what I look on now. Yeah, this one to me, this is lesson 23 in the workbook, is fairly self-explanatory. If what we see is a result of our thoughts of love or fear, we can choose one or the other. This should be something that I hope that it is. It was for me. When I first really digested this material in A Course in Miracles, it was liberating. I found this to be liberating. And it feels good for me to know that I am the one that's in control of this. We are in control of our experience. A pandemic is not in control of our experience. Your local government is not at all in control of your experience. Someone across town is not in control of your experience. Your spouse is not in control of your experience. You and only you are in control of your experience. We have not been stripped of free will. We have not. We're always making a choice. A choice to run and hide is a choice. A choice to do nothing, it's a choice. We're always choosing. Which is why I say in every live stream, it's important for us to choose love. And that's where the answers are. Lesson 24. I do not perceive my own best interests. Well, no kidding, right? It's not in our own best interest at all to suffer, to be continually frustrated, fearful, attacking. Right? It's not. How could I recognize my own best interests when I don't know who I am? How could I recognize my own best interests when I don't know who I am? Who am I? Ask this question. And check out Satsang with G on Sundays. Again, do that because his version of non-dual self-inquiry may speak to you very clearly and very loudly. This is how you approach these subjects. The workbook for students is another way that you can approach this. You see where spirituality converges. We're all asking that very important question. And we're practicing in various ways that only, by the way, look different on the outside. Internally, they're exactly the same in the end. I mean, if you want to think of it as leading to the same place, well, it's not really a physical place, but it's the experience of love. We're removing the barriers to that through different practices, through different meditations, through different forms of spiritual practice. So, how could I recognize my own thoughts when I don't know who I am? I'm confused, right? If I don't know who I am, I'm confused. If I do, then I'm not. What I think are my best interests would merely bind me closer to the world of illusions. I'm willing to follow the guide God has given me to find out what my own best interests are, recognizing that I cannot perceive them by myself. Okay, we're talking about surrender to the flow here. We're talking about surrender to the universe, to God, to your guides. And A Course in Miracles, it's Jesus, it's the Holy Spirit, yeah, God. If you prefer to call this life itself, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever your guides are, the ego doesn't know what it's doing. Therefore, we running around as supposedly separate beings have no clue what we're doing, do we? Where does all of our beautiful, beautiful, misplaced, misused intelligence get us? Well, fear, fear mongering, political strife, unrest, neighbors, well, tattling on neighbors in certain parts of the world for not following certain government mandated protocols. What's up with that? Right? All of these things. There's millions and millions and millions of examples. So the guide God has given you, well, you can insert if there's a name for your personal guides. Yeah, they're here for you to place your trust in. Okay. This is highly effective at getting out of our own way. So when I mean that, I mean not making decisions all by myself. Why? The ego doesn't know what it's doing. Has everything that you've ever decided on your own without the assistance of a higher power, without divine assistance, has it all turned out well for you? Well, yeah, no, right? Hasn't turned out beautifully for me either. I spent decades in very, well, let's just call them less than savory and less than beautiful experiences. A less than savory career that lasted 13 years, a less than savory relationship, several actually less than savory relationships. That's what happens when we are not allowing divine love to govern our lives. That's what this is saying here. So, lastly, lesson 25, I do not know what anything is for. Okay, we're admitting here that we don't know what anything is for. Now, what is it for? Well, actually, everything that appears is for our own best interest. One way of looking at that is it's the raw material, it's the experience that will motivate us to choose love. It's the raw material, in other words, for awakening. So let's read what lesson 25 has to say here. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that my illusions about myself are real. It is for this purpose that I attempt to use everyone and everything. It is for this that I believe the world's for. Therefore, I do not recognize its real purpose. The purpose I have given the world has led to a frightening picture of it. Let me open my mind to the world's real purpose by withdrawing the one I have given it and learning the truth about it. Surrender, allowing. These are words that are common in the spiritual community. Here's what's meant by them. We get out of our own way. We do not burden ourselves with trying to completely manipulate, orchestrate, and run the show. Where's that gotten us? Pandemics, fear, for example. We use everything in our experience when we're thinking as the ego to everyone, everything proves that we're separate. And then we grow to believe that. Now, if we make a different choice, love instead of fear, then we begin to believe otherwise. It leads to a vastly different experience of the world, of ourselves, of everyone else, and everything in it. And that is the experience that we're craving, deeply, deeply craving. This is what we want. All of us, deep down, whether we choose right now in the moment to admit it or not. It's what we want. And Honestly, if you think about it, be honest with yourself. It is what you want, right? Peace. This course leads to peace. However, you must be willing to give up all of your illusions. In other words, to question every single thing, every assumption that you now hold, every single one without exception, all of them. That is getting out of our own way. So this really hit me hard when I read it today. This is the third time that I've gone through the workbook, and I just thought, how beautiful, how perfect is the Holy Spirit's timing with this. Right now, during a pandemic, the first sentence in the commentary is, "What I see now are but signs of disease, yeah, disaster and death, and everything that follows from that." Now, we could choose to see it differently. So, I thank all of you for tuning in here. Let's pop on and see who's joining us live here. Now, if you're catching this on the replay, as always, feel welcome to leave comments, questions for me. I enjoy hearing from each of you. And Deirdre, hello, how are you? And thank you for sharing. Yeah. So what we'll continue to do here is we'll continue to go through the workbook for students. Lessons 56 through 60 are these really poignant review lessons. And if you don't own a physical copy of A Course in Miracles, that's perfectly all right. There are tremendous resources available online, and it is absolutely possible to just read these ideas, and whether you go through the recommended practice periods or not, and I highly recommend that you do, especially if you're following along, definitely do that, right? If all you do is think about these, then that is a significant step in your own awakening. It is. It really is. So I thank you for joining me all here today, and I will see you back here tomorrow. This is A Course in Miracles 365, and we'll see you all soon.